Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com.
It's funny you went with a Russian accent there, George, because one of our news articles today covers that. So
What? Russia's in the news?
Very thematic. Russia is in the news, or we're in a portion of the news.
You're right,
No,
Adam.
Russia was in the entire news.
It was a deliberate ploy to segue us into our first story of the week, and certainly not an accidentally racist thing that I did
We've never done that before.
with no prompting.
No.
Unlike Justin Trudeau, who seems to be...
Oh, dear.
Have you guys heard about this story?
Yeah,
I know we had a
yeah.
bunch of planned stories, but I've been just listening about this Justin Trudeau thing where he got caught in his youth. There photos have surfaced of Justin Trudeau having dressed in blackface, not once, not twice, but thrice.
Thrice now.
Thrice.
I'd heard twice. Okay.
You know
thrice
why,
now.
though? Like, because he
If you want-
was at uni, right? It was like one of those, like, dumb sort of like, when I was in my 20s, I did this fucking thing. He probably received such a good response at whatever party he was at that he was like, oh, you know what? It's probably a great idea if I do this again.
Positive
Let's do this.
Went
reinforcement.
Maybe
down
times.
like a charm last time, so I guess it'll be okay if I do it at the next one.
So Justin Trudeau has unreservedly apologised, but what I think is really interesting is the emergence of all of these facts very shortly before the Canadian election.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course. Someone's been sitting on this.
I mean, why did this not come out the first time round? He's been in power for a few years at this point.
Oh, because he's trying to do good things on climate change.
Yeah,
But he's also not. Canada's kind of going back and forth on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you
Yeah.
watch Hassan Minaj's
Yeah.
show, he fucking rips into Justin Trudeau about his oil exploitation. And I mean, Canada is famous for its natural resources exploitation, so it's a big part of their economy. You can't just transition off it willy-nilly. So all of which is to say, I don't remember how we got onto that. We were talking about Russian propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the blackface thing is Russian propaganda.
Exactly
Maybe.
right. It's
Do you know what I
Vladimir
mean?
Putin
Been holding on to it.
reaching into Justin Trudeau's past and saying, I see you dressed up as Aladdin. Good.
Was that what he was dressing up as? Was it
That was one of them. Yeah, he's dressed
Yeah.
up as Aladdin.
I thought. Yeah, I heard an Arabian Nights themed party.
How
or
many
something
Arabian
like
Nights themed parties does one generally attend in one's youth? I
I-
don't recall having
I don't
attended
recall any.
myself.
I attended some weird themed parties in my uni days, but I don't think any of them were that themed.
Can't beat the old traffic light party. That's, that's got to be our
I
favourite.
don't think I actually ever went
I
to
know,
one of
neither
those.
did I.
I heard of them. That's the thing. Do traffic light parties even exist, or
They
are they
exist.
just
No, they're a
things
thing.
that we all just tell each other happen and we all just believe?
Oh, yeah, no, I went to a traffic light party the other
so I don't
day.
know if
Did
you guys...
you? Whose party was
No,
it?
I mean, I was private.
What
It was
colour
so
did you
private.
wear?
I don't know. How does it work?
Where was it at? Yeah, see, it doesn't exist.
I-
Oh Jesus!
So I
Okay,
don't know if you can see.
I
you
can
guys
see that.
this
I can
photo?
see that photo. Wow.
I think he went a bit hard on the.
That's
on the.
that's
so bad.
yeah. That's
Holy
not.
shit.
That's not good.
So all you need to Google. What was that Google search there, George?
Just
I think-
Justin Trudeau, Aladdin,
Yep. Okay. There you go.
and
There you go.
that'll get you what you need.
That'll give you
Oh,
like
dear.
an hour's worth
Oh,
of
dear.
entertainment, not a moment more.
Or a moment less.
Or a moment less. But we were speaking of Russia before, and the reason
He's
why
just
I was
so
speaking,
black.
Yes.
like just very black.
Does the fact that the photo was black and white?
he used, like,
also,
military
I don't know,
face
is that an intentional
It
edit
doesn't-
on their part? Because wasn't this 20 years ago?
It doesn't help. Yeah, exactly.
Color photos existed.
Definitely had color photos 20 years ago.
Did someone intentionally take
yeah.
that photo
Why is
in
that
black and white? Like, was that a stylistic choice, or is that
Maybe that's all the
Out of a
university
Is that-
yearbook. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yearbook
Costs
photo.
money to get stuff
Yeah.
printed.
That's how far we've come. Is that back 20, 30 years ago, that kind of shit was printed in yearbooks because it was all right.
Oh,
Now,
well, who
like-
was it who was
Just
in
having a laugh.
a Klan get up in their yearbook or something? Got in trouble for that? Like a politician was like, oh, in the 80s or something like that, they were dressed as a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
I know which
Such a good
one.
joke.
As a costume.
Such a good joke.
Yeah, that went down well.
It's funny because of the long history of violence associated
What?
with slavery. That's
I
why it's
hadn't even
funny.
thought about that, George.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got the joke.
Considered it.
Here's a question for you
It's
guys.
not that I didn't get it.
Here's a
It's
question.
that it's bad.
Do you think that Justin Trudeau should be in trouble for this thing 20 years later?
No.
No?
No.
It
I
seems,
think.
Depends.
Yeah. No.
Depends.
Why do you say depends?
I would say depends. Like, it's a thing of if something like this happens. So yeah, people discover the pictures, etc., etc. So you discover that he's done this thing, and people say you did this thing. I feel he should definitely be in trouble with it if he said, "Oh well, it was fine. It was fine. It was 20 years ago. Everyone was doing it. Then it's fine." Blah. But if he that's bad because that's you doubling down on your bullshit, right? Like everyone's done something that they regret or might not pass. Just doesn't pass the sniff test, or think like how the heck did I think that was okay then and not now? And
for example,
etc.
For example, you can't get the first 299 episodes of Unnatural Selection for good reason.
Yeah. So to double down and say, well, no, but it was it was okay. If your answer is it was okay then, but it's not okay now, that's horrific. But to be like no, but to say no, it was wrong. It is wrong, and I'm not going to try and make excuses for myself.
I feel like that's sort of what his apology sort of revolved around.
Yeah.
It's like, it was always wrong. I should have known better. All that sort of stuff. Why do you think not, Adam?
Because I think culturally, well, depends. But like 20, 30 years ago, like I don't think there wasn't the outrage mill. It was socially acceptable, probably within the circles he was moving in. Doesn't make it right now, but like there was no one.
I feel that also doesn't
looking
make it
over
right
it.
Then,
No. Well, probably not. But like there was no one that looking over his shoulder saying, "No, don't do it." Like there was no one to morally object to it. So he was just doing what he thought was within his context. Fine.
Also, he didn't think he was going to be Prime Minister one day.
No,
so,
probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of in two minds about it because it's like I don't know that it is fair to like retroactively judge everyone by today's current standards because I'm also I'm cognizant of the fact that there will be standards in 30 years to which I do not currently comport. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's something I'm currently doing. People like, I can't believe you're eating meat. That's savage. Like, in the future, it's all fucking lab-grown meat, and you're a piece of shit for having eaten meat. They're like, okay, but like right now, it's cool for me to eat bacon. Like,
or whatever.
So, you know, it's kind of hard to, because you don't know what the standards of the future are going to be either.
No.
So it's hard to sort of proactively future-proof all of your behavior, especially when you know standards will change over time.
White privilege was still,
But I feel the argument is in the meat analogy, I could see that. But in the racism analogy, people well knew that this was wrong.
Well,
then
I don't
know who said it. It was it must have been someone on Twitter at some point. But when people talked about it was. It was a different time, etc., etc., etc. That is such a white privilege thing of that, like, black people have known that racism and discrimination has been bad for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So it's always been a bad thing. You can't say it was a different time. It was okay then. No, it was
the culture,
bad then.
the white culture that he was a part of, wasn't cognizant of that. So he was only operating as a cog in the machine, so to speak. He wasn't necessarily, do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't necessarily in a position to know better given his situation. I mean, if he did a bit of research, then probably he would have been. But do you know what I mean? Like, there's that kind of, the history is there. Whether or not people are aware of that history and cognizant of that history is another question.
No, but that was my point earlier of that. That I feel whether or not to strongly vilify him on everything is all dependent on
his response to it.
Just his attitude towards that. Because for all we know, that he's thought about this 10 years ago and was like, "Fuck, remember when I did that?" And that was a wrong thing to do, and he's had a personal acknowledgement with himself and grown and has tried to develop as a person, and now it's happening very publicly 10 years after he's even had those thoughts. But it still doesn't mean that I feel the answer here is that even at the time, it was still not an okay thing to do. It was never an okay for him thing for him to do. I feel is what we all have to kind of come to the table on here.
I don't disagree with you there, but I don't think that it was as, by the standards of the time, it was more of a, oh, someone's being a bit of an edgy shitlord. Like,
Yeah.
it was a fun thing. It wasn't a career-ending kind of thing that it is now. I do think that the way we conceived of things at the time should count for something. Like, you knew it was, like, wrong, but it was wrong in, like, a saucy kind of, like, Prince Harry wore a SWAT sticker to a costume party kind of thing. It was like, oh, bit of controversy. Like, it wasn't a Harry wants to kill all the Jews. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it has a different context now. And I do think it is hard to sort of judge what the future context of that stuff is going to be. Because I guarantee you're doing something, probably, Tom, right now, sitting here as a white cis male with your hetero privilege.
You're wearing a grey jumper.
I mean, can you imagine that they wore grey jumpers back then?
Jesus.
Not quite the same.
I mean, I don't know. No, Tom, grey is representative
same.
of... I don't know.
The
give me
patriarchal hegemony.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, if you're not wearing pink, you're not in the... Anyway.
I feel not knowing that grey jumpers aren't okay in the future and being ignorant of, at that time, racism was still not an okay thing.
Yeah, see,
different.
I don't think like, if he thought he was being racist, he wouldn't do it. It's just racism meant something different back then.
Yeah.
Racism
The
meant...
bar was...
the bar was lower in terms of what constituted...
My point is that still doesn't
racist.
make it okay.
Yeah,
There's a reason sometimes that ignorance isn't a defense.
I guess that I'm
still
not
did a
saying
racist
that it makes it okay, but I guess it's just hard to retroactively judge something for something that you didn't think was as big of a deal as it is now. Does that make sense?
I do agree that he's... Like, if he'd turned around and gone, oh, whatever... Like, that's not the right attitude. I agree that
definitely not.
We you judge him on what his response is now as well.
I don't know. I guess I'm someone who is always of the camp of, like, it's not to never be going whatever. More of a I wish I was more developed then as I am now.
Yeah, but it's also not just you personally, because we all personally grow up a little bit more as time goes on. But it's also the culture. Like, we all weren't as grown up then as we are now, and that's always going to be the case. When I look at my journals from when I was a 20-year-old, from when I was a 22-year-old to when I was a 24-year-old, at every stage, I look back. Yeah, I've been journaling sort of like inconsistently since I was about 13. But at every point, I've looked back on my younger self and gone, boy, what an idiot. And then me at 25 looking back at me at 22 being like, oh, boy, what an idiot. And then me at 27 looking back at me at 25. And then me at 24 going, oh, boy, what idiots. And then me at 29, like, you know what I mean? Like,
keep going with that analogy forever.
It's a consistent thing of you always will develop more, you will learn more, you will get more attuned. We personally grow, but also we as a society grow and things change. And I think his response has been the right one, where it's like, yeah, I probably should have known better. And if I had my time over, like no one is saying that if he had his time over again, he'd do the same thing. He'd be like, no, fucking put the shoe polish down. This is not an appropriate way.
It's not good for your skin either.
It's not good. It's just not good for a bunch of reasons. But, like, I don't think he currently would ever go back and make that same decision. So it's sort of like...
You'd hope not.
You never know. I mean, his PR agency could have got behind that and just been like, listen, I know you don't agree with this, so shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, Justin. This is the story we're going with. This is the speech you're going to say, and off you go.
But I...
No, read the speech.
I'm just saying it was pretty funny at the time. All right, I unreservedly apologise for any misdeeds I may or may not have done.
What are you saying? We can't trust anything politicians say?
I mean, maybe a little bit.
I don't know. I think it's sort of like... It has been used clearly also
the time
as a cudgel to bash him before the election. But
definitely.
So I am cognizant of that. It's like by getting angry at Justin Trudeau about this, if you're a progressive, you're really just doing exactly what the Conservatives want and helping sweep them into power. So, like, from a realpolitik practical point of view, I feel like everyone just be like, yeah, that fucking sucks. Let's just forget about it. Like, let's just move on to the next thing. He said it's sorry. We believe him.
Oh, well,
move on.
But that's always whether or not people can really make what's the word I'm looking for? Like, really sound judgments, particularly in, like, when it comes to election sort of stuff. Because I mean, if you had like Trudeau versus Trump, and you've got one guy who appeared in these photos 20 years ago, and then you've got the
kids in cages,
the kids in cages, long litany of sexual assault allegations, etc., etc. Trump, you'd be like, oh well, no, I'll take the guy who appeared in blackface a few times over that.
Yeah.
Like, still not great, not letting you off the hook. But yeah, there's an objective choice in there. So yeah, the timing of it's very interesting in that, because then you're going to really be trying to shake people's moral core of the kind of people you're supporting.
The question is also like how long is the memory of the Canadian people? Because if they're anything like the Australian people, they've got the memory of a dementia patient of 90 years old. Friend of the show, John writes in.
John is writing in, yeah.
And he's asked if I would ever go back blackface.
Well, first, he
no.
said, JT is my man, so I don't know exactly what
Justin Timberlake?
I thought he meant I thought George Sipos, maybe.
Yeah,
but maybe he's talking about Justin Trudeau.
I was going to say, I actually did. When I saw that comment pop up before, I was like, Justin Timberlake.
We're talking about
Trudeau. Justin Trudeau. Oh, there we go. Yeah. See, I'm not fully switched on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday.
That's all right. Maybe this mojito will help. John asks, would you ever go full blackface? I'd be curious. No, Adam says no. I'd be curious to see what the audience says about this. So,
really?
No, well, I mean, I guess the question that I'm proposing is probably different to the one that you've got in your head, Tom, which is like, do you think it is fair to judge someone's past actions, many years in the past, by today's current standards? And to have present day consequences as a result of those past.
But it also depends. Like, I mean, what are you talking about? Like, is it Nazi war crimes? Because Nazi war crimes were bad.
Depends on the actions. Depends on the response.
Yeah.
Like that's not.
I just hit a wee bit of Nazi gold. No, say for example, Sweden. Or was it the Swiss? I forget. I always get confused between the two. Swedish Nazi gold. Anyway, so do you think it's fair to judge in this specific instance Justin Trudeau by today's standards around the blackface stuff? Email your responses to unnaturalselectionshow@gmail.com. Titling your email, I do or do not think it is fair to judge Justin Trudeau by today's modern standards.
Or if you want to do it while we're online at the moment, you can also respond to the thread.
If you're joining us live. That was 17 full minutes of unprepared Justin Trudeau banter. There you go.
Love a good session. Love a good unprepared 17 minutes.
It just goes to show.
I'm ambivalent. 17 minutes of unprepared, very, very delicate
just riff
discussion.
It. Just riff it. It's fine. Everything's fine, just like the fact that the Russians love a good bit of disinformation.
They sure do.
Good bit of disinformation.
Maybe they're the ones who put out the Justin Trudeau stuff.
Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Who knows?
Vladimir Putin.
The reason why we're talking about this is
he would hopefully know.
He would know.
An expert in Australia has come out and said that the recent fears and, I guess, publicity around 5G is probably
5G mobile internet.
5G mobile internet.
Money,
Yep. Which is being sort of rolled out by Telstra at the moment. I think it's about to be rolled out. It's already
out. Like, you can get 5G in certain, particularly metropolitan centres, the capital cities and areas like that. Yeah.
Maybe not out in Berwick, but definitely in
definitely in CBD Melbourne. You can get 5G if you've got a compatible handset.
The thing is, though, people buy. They don't.
Did I finish that sentence or not?
I don't know.
So the point being is, that misinformation has been perpetuated by the Russians, essentially, or by Russian media, particularly Russia Today.
Yeah, there's been a long swathe of people putting around articles being like, hey guys, 5G is going to give us all tumours and things like that. Yeah. And people saying, no, not any more than literally anything else that's wirelessly going around.
So 5G is basically the same as the 4G wireless internet that currently exists, but obviously it's the next generation.
It's bandwidth out the face.
Yeah, it's a lot faster. A lot of people think that it's going to sort of leapfrog a lot of sort of NBN fixed fiber stuff that we've been currently rolling out at great expense across the country, more or less.
Who needs NBN when you've got 5G to the face?
Well, here's the thing, and the idea being that obviously the capacity is much more as we enter the age of, the Internet of Things that they call it, which is basically where various home devices and things that we have around the house are all connected to the internet. 5G is going to become increasingly important, and it's going to be increasingly valuable for 21st century economy to have every little thing connected up to the internet. important to note that it is just the same kind of radio waves that we've grown to expect from every other aspect of life. So if electromagnetic radiation were to cause any type of cancer or illness, everyone in the last century, anyone who was born since radio would be just riddled with tumors at this point. So there's no evidence whatsoever to say that it causes any kind of ill health
not yet.
effects. But like it's of a piece with every other piece of electromagnetic radiation. It's just different bandwidths.
So the reason why this is come out, I mean, experts basically been tracing back sort of, I guess, the spikes of when, various, I guess, chatter, Google searches of, keywords have appeared on the internet. And you can sort of look at sort of when they first started talking about rolling it out, there's been a spike basically in the interest over time.
I remember seeing a little while ago, in the order of weeks or months, there was like a protest in, I think it was Byron Bay, about like 5G, and they're like, no, we don't want 5G, we just want our farm-to-table patchouli oil. I don't know what people from Byron Bay want.
And so Russia Today is essentially, it's Russia's broadcast, or RT, as it's known.
Yeah, they call themselves RT. They don't go around spruiking themselves as Russia propaganda
but
weekly.
They're kind of, I guess, you can get them on cable and stuff. They're the Western version of, I guess, Russian media. So it's a lot of it's very anti-US. Look at there'll be articles and news stories about, look at the Russian troops in Syria. Look at the new Russian warplane that's just been released. And so, for people that and this thing is like, they'll say something and then it sort of perpetuates. There's like a ripple effect, if you will, through the internet, through other news sources picking up from Russia Today, or
so this is the problem.
The story will get sold somewhere else.
Is not that Russia Today itself has an outsized influence in the discussion. It's that it is sort of like a seeding ground for other kinds of misinformation to be picked up from them. So, like for example, a lot of comedians from the progressive left in America are actually like contributors and people that have shows and do news pieces on Russia Today. And it's not as though those are fabricated by any means. Like it is actually an important way of kind of promoting alternative viewpoints from the current mainstream corporatist media structure that exists. But it is of note that you are doing that in such a way that your spreading of that information, if you are one of these sort of progressivist sort of people on one of these shows on RT, you're doing so at the behest of like Russian, not necessarily disinformation efforts, but like in a way that like stokes polarization and resentment and outrage. Like you are being used as a tool, even if some of the things that you are doing on there are kind of smart and important, and because it's still a branch of the fucking Russian government, right?
Yeah.
Like,
there's a couple of examples of that, and like, what they talk about in this article here is that they're saying that Russia Today is quite favourable of Huawei. Did I say that right? Huawei. Obviously, we were Huawei. I can't say it.
The Chinese cell phone company
has basically been sort of, I guess, banned, or not banned from it. Have they been banned from Australia?
Not banned from Australia. No, they've Google essentially banned them from further Android updates.
Well,
they've essentially tried to kick them off their network.
As a result of, at the behest of Donald Trump. So basically, signed an executive order saying you can't have, as part of these sanctions, you can't have Chinese companies working with American companies in specific contexts.
There was that, but there was also the Australian government literally didn't offer them a massive contract.
Oh yeah,
so that was a separate thing. So basically,
so they're not banned in Australia. You can still buy like Huawei.
Well, you can buy a Huawei phone, but any new Huawei phones will not be supported by Android because Android is Google, and Google's an American company.
We're not talking about phones here. We're talking about infrastructure.
Yeah, so that was a separate thing entirely, where it was like Huawei wants to build, and like they are the guys for 5G. They like will build it the best and the cheapest. Yeah. But there are security concerns around having a company that is so closely affiliated with the Chinese government in control of all of our infrastructure around communications.
I don't know if they're building 5G, but essentially what Russia Today have done is that essentially, because Huawei...
Stop.
I can't do it.
Just say
they have
put a hyphen in the middle of the word.
Huawei.
Can you
Huawei.
just say the big H?
There you go.
Huawei.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. They have signed a massive deal with the Russian government to build a bunch of infrastructure.
Yeah.
So Russia Today was essentially saying that, how great's Huawei. But at the same time, the same journalists use that to then bash 5G. So they've said, for instance...
The same journalist for Russia Today, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same byline with two... as like fundamentally diametrically opposed points of view. Like 5G is bad, it's coming to kill your babies in their sleep, but also Huawei's 5G is the best.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So obviously a pretty slanted. It gives credence to the idea that it's a propagandist sort of tool. And I mean, I don't know this journalist, I don't know their byline. Maybe they exist, maybe they don't. But like the whole idea is that it's sort of being used as a mouthpiece for disinformation.
Yeah. But anyway, I found that very interesting.
Well,
and it's been around for a while. Like my family signed up to a local neighbourhood protest because they didn't want to have. And this is just a normal mobile phone tower. This is about 10 years ago. They didn't want a mobile phone tower within 100 metres of their house.
Oh, stop.
And then the whole bloody subdivision was just like, no, we can't have that. We can't put it over the other side of the river where those other mugs and the other city council have to deal with it. Like, it's just...
Meanwhile, I'm only getting 1.5 megabits. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, why is my reception shit?
This is so shit.
Like the peoples of Claremont, Tasmania need to calm down. I think there's literally an association for it. It's called the Claremont Progress Association.
And ironically, they want to halt progress by stopping the building of critical infrastructure.
Yeah, I think they ended up building it, but they lowered the height of it or something.
Okay. In that case, it's fine.
Cool.
Yeah,
so the waves are even closer to you.
Yeah.
So now you still get the eyesore, but with much less efficacy.
Indeed. That's been has happened. And we're speaking of China, obviously. And one thing that China are doing at the moment is the Belt and Road Initiative, which we've spoken a bit about on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
It is a real thing, and it has real effects on geopolitical alliances.
So
it's not just a...
Tell me if I'm correct in my understanding of the Belt and Road Initiative, Adam. They're making Italian leather belts.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
On the side of the road.
Yeah. And
Correct.
Exactly. It's really getting back to the
fundamentals.
grassroots of commerce.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's exactly what I thought.
Tom, you've bought one of these belts, I believe.
I have, yeah. My pants kept falling down, and so I thought, well, gotta get me one of them.
And of course, they're very convenient. You pull over the side of the road.
Yeah.
Pull out your $5, like the guy that do the windscreens. They just knock, they put the belt buckle on, smack it with a hammer, away you go, and you only have to stop for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's perfect. They also had like homemade salami and a really nice jam. In their little roadside stall.
So nothing to worry about.
Nothing
there,
nefarious.
Really.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's all good.
No, the Belt and Road Initiative is in fact a massive infrastructure and investment program that the Chinese government is rolling out to a lot of developing nations around the world. The concept being is they want to tie in trade routes and infrastructure so China can essentially export with ease to various countries.
Yeah.
And in many ways, the infrastructure that is the way they're spinning it is that the infrastructure they're building is of benefit to the host nation, and that it will help stimulate the economy and God knows what else, create jobs, investment, and that kind of thing. Of course,
and it's just like lots of pictures of like puppy dogs and small children high-fiving each other.
Lots
that
of
sort
shaking
of thing.
hands,
just shaking hands. Someone with a hard hat, just like both looking at some plans. It's like, it's just corporate and building, getting along.
Yeah, all good. Unfortunately, there's also a few strings attached to that.
What?
Which is essentially
what? That doesn't sound like the Chinese government. Strings attached. What?
That either in return for some of this investment, there are obviously diplomatic implications, such as if I give you a fuck ton of money,
you do what the fuck I say.
Yeah, there's
a little bit.
There's also the concept that a lot of these people that they're loaning money to can't even pay this money back. That the Chinese government, and also the fact that a lot of the infrastructure bits, like let's say a port they build somewhere, ends up being owned by a company that has links to the Chinese government, so therefore the port in itself is controlled by the Chinese government. More or less, yeah. Now, it's not as simple as that. Not every project that's being invested by or financed by companies in China is bad, right? I'm not saying that. But this Belt and Road Initiative isn't so clear cut. And an example of this...
It's part of a clear effort
Yes.
by the Chinese government
To influence.
to expand their geopolitical influence for their own ends, right?
Yeah.
And, if some infrastructure gets built along the way, that's great. We can keep our economy humming along at, X% growth year on year, which looks good because there's only so much building you can do at home before people get a bit fucking sick of the cement trucks.
Yeah.
So, it isn't necessarily a negative thing, but it does indicate China's rise as a superpower, comparable, and in some places
Superior
surpassing to
United
the
States.
US.
Yeah.
Which is really problematic.
An example of that is, and this is where this is shifting, is the Solomon Islands has broken ties with Taiwan after the Chinese basically gave them a shitload of money. So the Solomon Islands...
After extensive review and this canvas bag with a $sign on it that's mysteriously appeared from nowhere, we've decided to not hang out with Taiwan anymore for completely legitimate, non-corrupt reasons.
So essentially, Taiwan, for a long period of time, gave the Solomon Islands a large, a lot of, aid, other assistance, and recently, I guess, the Chinese government started providing money. But obviously the string, because Taiwan is a sensitive issue for the Chinese government, Solomon Islands essentially turned around and gone, and it was voted. There was a government vote to change allegiance, but I mean, as what was said behind closed doors, who knows? They've essentially said, "Oh, we don't want to talk to you anymore, Taiwan, because China's providing the bills or paying the bills."
They've straight up said like Taiwan doesn't do as much for us as China does. Like it is really a strategic realignment of who's the king dick in this situation, who's going to give us more money. Great, we'll side with those guys, and that means if Taiwan's not legitimate, then Taiwan's not legitimate. We don't give a fuck.
And this is the sixth country since 2016 that has done so as well.
Yeah, so it's clearly part of a coordinated effort from mainland China to get Taiwan back under control.
Yeah.
And the way to do that is by divide and conquer, right? So snip off all of their sources of trade and support. And if that means you need to make a couple of surrounding countries offers they can't refuse in order to get them on side, then that's what they'll do. Like, if you were in the region, you'd be fucking stupid not to side with China. It is in your, they will win the conflict with any other kind of region or principality that they are up against.
Well,
you can't compete
part of the
Taiwan
problem
versus
for Australia,
China.
though, is that if China starts buying up essentially real estate or influence in what is strategically our area, it's concerning for us as well.
I mean, there was a story a number of years ago about China strategically buying up areas of food producing regions in Australia to guarantee supply, essentially. And you sort of go, well, if it comes down to it and there is some kind of global shortfall of food or something like that, or some sort of drought or something, to that effect, is China just going to be shipping Australian food and produce directly overseas out of Australian hands? Is that a security threat that we now need to deal with? Is that China owns large swathes of arable land through these companies?
I mean, today it's bulk milk supplies, and baby formula. Tomorrow it's tomatoes.
It's all right, Adam. I don't think they're coming for your thick milk drink.
I love my thick milk drinks, Tom.
Sorry. For
give it
context, on the way here, when when Adam picked me up, hopped in the car, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm just enjoying some oak thick." It was just this vanilla milk drink that advertises itself as thick
vanilla.
So
and I thought, I don't know, just there's very few beverages that you could tell me have thick in the premise that sounds appealing, right? Like a thick shake, sure, but when you're just it's thick milk.
What do they do to thicken it?
This is just thick.
Nope.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is it spelled THICCC?
Oh yeah, the milk. Is it thick?
It's
thick.
It's 44 grams of sugar thick.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Yeah, when you said that, and I was like, wait, that's not milligrams. That's grams. Yeah. That's whole grams.
Yeah.
That's,
would you like
real grams?
Diabetes with your bucket of thick milk?
Just thick. The thickest milk. I don't know.
You can tell it's obviously great for me in terms of my brain function and everything else, because I literally got out of the car, went to put it into the recycling bin at the front of George's house. And I was just talking, so I was like, so I was thinking that I just opened the lid and then ended up throwing, I had my wallet in my left hand and my drink in the right hand. I just threw my wallet.
You just
it's
chucked your
straight into
wallet
the bin. And then I got about
It
probably
was so funny.
like it must be like half a second until it just hits the bottom of the bin, and I went,
Oh mate,
Ah.
the amount of times I've like put the milk in the cupboard, like just, like just at home, you just go like, yeah, all right, or like I put my phone in the fridge. And think, wait a minute.
put the baby in the microwave.
Oh
you know,
yeah.
easy.
Happens to the
Happens
best of
to
us.
all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, at least once or
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah. It's all these it's all the 5G. That's what it is.
It's the 5G.
It's frying
messing with
our
heads.
brains.
Is it the
Yeah.
5G or is it our thick drinks?
I don't know.
At what point is a thick drink soup? You know what I mean? Like,
That's a good question.
what's a thick
Tom Heath
beverage?
asking the big questions
This
on
is-
Unnatural Selection.
This is a big question. Well, it's bigger than the next question that I think Adam's going to pose to us based on the next story.
Questions.
Oh boy, this has started a shitstorm. So the U.S. military.
Did we finish on the
Did we
Belton
finish on the
Road?
Belton Road thing?
It's
the Solomons
bad.
are
Yeah, no,
bailing
we're
out.
basically
That's
done.
bad.
Basically, if you want a proof that it's actually affecting things, just watch countries switch allegiances as they get a big bag of cash because it's happening. It's real.
It's happened like
and
6
I'm not
times.
just like promoting Chinese conspiracy theories. It's a real thing.
Adam, quick question though.
Yes.
Who doesn't love a big bag of cash?
I mean,
I love a big bag
if
of
it
cash.
gets, if the big bag of cash can be used to buy me some thick milk,
Yeah.
then I'm all
Yeah.
I'm all on board, mate.
There it is. It's come
Yeah.
full
It is.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money can be exchanged for goods and services.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, so this week is a big week for aliens. This week.
Love aliens.
That Area
Because
51
the Area
thing.
51 thing happened
Yeah.
yesterday,
Did that
our
happen?
Did any,
time.
what happened?
What
I
happened?
didn't
Like
see
100
that.
people showed up and they all had
2 million.
they had like
100 people.
the ratio of those who clicked attending to those who turned up. Like we're gonna have to rethink our general rule of 50% because it's well below
So,
that.
For
Oh.
anyone who was wondering, we have a rule here at Unnatural Selection. Whenever we created an event online on Facebook for something, you can rest assured that if 100 people say that they're attending, you can
Probably about 50.
probably about 50 people
50.
show up. But
Yeah.
that rule has been fucking thoroughly exploded this week in the
Done.
wake of Area 51.
Yeah, my
2
God.
million
Busted.
people attended and 100 showed up. You fucking soft,
Yeah.
weak pieces
But
of
like
shit.
people turned up, they had signs. I don't know. It was so funny that also like
Did they Naruto run it?
I saw one instance of like a journalist doing a piece to camera, and behind him, someone Naruto run behind him. So that happened at least. I don't know. Like
Good.
I just saw random videos of people like being there with just with joke signs and stuff, but also seeming to be like dickheads. Like that's the thing. It's kind of like that. These
kidding.
aren't people turning up being funny. These are people who are just like it's odd how the like dickhead internet trolls who love Trump kind of also align with the people who turn up to fucking the Area 51 thing.
Yeah.
Like a soldier came out with a dog. Like at one point, just to be looking at him, being like,
Let the dogs
yeah,
out.
all right, and all that, and they're just hanging around. So yeah, nothing fucking happened. So the alleged storming of Area 51 wasn't even the biggest news with regards
No.
to aliens this week, although it's a bit of a stretch. The U.S. military have acknowledged that some videos that surfaced, I think we talked about them when they surfaced at the time, right? Because
Can't remember.
this story's nuts because it involves one of the band members of Blink-182.
It does.
yeah.
That's right. And
It
they
does.
started that organization.
Yeah,
right?
Blink-182
Yeah,
shared
yeah,
a video being like, holy shit, look at this. This is camera footage from US fighter jets engaging with a UFO. And we're all like, yeah, mate, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And the US military this week said, no, yeah, that's real. We're all like,
Yeah.
what? Like, yeah, the
Yeah.
video footage is real. Like, that was never, that's not meant to be for the public. It's real. Was taken by one of our fighter jets. That is indeed a UFO. But what he means by that, and what everyone needs to remember, is that UFO is an unidentified flying object. So it means it's literally an object that is flying and they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Not that they're aliens.
No, there's aliens, Tom. And that's why we need to
No.
storm Area 51! Now!
Well, you had your chance and you blew it,
It
Adam.
actually- it actually
Why
got-
didn't you turn up and boost those
It actually
numbers?
got broken down. Two things I'll talk about here. Firstly, the Area 51 event did actually get broken into effectively 3 events. They started an event at a after the whole furore of the thing happened.
Mhm.
They started another event in a town a couple of hours away. which ended up being a bit of a festival. And they were also, the original Facebook page owners were going to start an event at a place called, I think it's Rochelle. It was about an hour, it was not too far away from Area 51.
Right.
The town they wanted to do it in has basically a couple of buildings and like a petrol station.
Yeah.
It was like a classic fire festival. Like, you can't have a festival.
Yeah, it's just like you have not thought this through. Where are people going to poop?
So they cancelled it at the last minute and they moved it to Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. Well,
But there was still a portion of the internet that obviously have rocked up to Area 51.
Yes, they rocked up actually at the edge of the base.
But
thankfully, to my knowledge, no one got shot,
Good.
as everyone was worried about. If you're going to storm a military installation, you're going to
If
get
these
shot.
videos are anything to go by, they should have stormed Area 51.
Nah.
Because the aliens are in there, Tom.
I don't know.
They're
It's
in
just,
there.
I feel the military are just not doing themselves any favors saying that this footage is legit. They could have just let us all
no comment.
write it off as it's just
Don't
some more,
ask, don't ask, don't tell.
this is just like some more Loch Ness Monster photos or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, oh yeah, this is all conspiracy bullshit. But no. They were like, no, it's real. We have no idea what those flying things were, what that disc that we're just following is. And so it's just reignited everyone panicking.
It does look pretty fucking weird. I'd love to play
It does look
a
very
quick
weird.
audio clip just because of how the pilots react trying to lock onto this thing and then doing it successfully. You'll hear in a sec. So you see the camera moving around. There's this thing zipping past. They're trying to lock onto it,
Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at it fly.
Oh my god, dude!
It's like they're on a bunch of weed or
Woo!
something.
Got me a fucking UFO!
Yeah, it's just like going
So-
fishing or something. Like, whoa, we got a live one.
Oh, we got a big one here, boys!
This is there are two main incidents that are in popular sort of, I guess, the areas of the internet that everyone knows about. Which one's called
everyone that
one's-
everyone knows about.
the ones that are I guess widely known. What I'm suggesting is there are probably more of them that aren't well publicised.
Right.
And because I love a good YouTube click hole, and I've watched a few of these supposed documentaries on these things. But essentially, I mean, the people that have put witness statements in about these couple of incidents, they're all ex-servicemen, right? And they've all served on the
legit people.
carrier.
These are not fucking crazy people.
Essentially, in 2004, one's called the
we don't have
NIMS,
time to unpack
all
all of
I
what
just-
George
yeah.
just
You know
said.
They're not just like wackadoodles. These are people who are actually
wackadoodles.
current members of the military.
Or recent
Or
veterans.
Air Force, or recent veterans, credible people that are coming forward saying, like, I'm not saying it's aliens, but I don't know what the fuck this is. Like,
Yeah.
and there's footage, like actual footage of something.
Yeah. So what happened? The first one I think is called the NIMS. I can't say that word properly. Admiral NIMS. Yeah, the NIMS. It's a carrier called NMITZ. Anyway.
Why do you try to
I
say
can't
words
do it.
on this show?
My brain just as soon as I know that I'm on air, I can't pronounce words properly.
He's
It's just
quite
weird.
eloquent. Eloquent.
So you're doing it as well.
Son of a bitch.
But wow.
Anyway.
He's quite eloquent normally.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's an aircraft carrier was doing, and a naval task group was doing exercises off the coast of America.
Yep.
The Aegis radar system that are some of these frigates run, which are essentially, it's a really complicated networked radar system, one of the best in the world, picked up a real world contact, in the exercise, and they tasked a bunch of jets to go out there and sort of see what it was. These jets, the F-18s, have what they call a FLIR or AFLIR targeting pod on them. That's basically a thermal scope, if you will, that they can, like I look at it through a TV screen. It zooms in really far, that kind of thing. Anyway, so the jets didn't actually pick it up on radar, I don't think, but they did manage to see it, obviously. And it was essentially what's been described as an oblong or a sort of shaped
Cigar.
tic-tac sort of like
Yeah.
object.
Which,
sort of,
by the way, if you're like into ufology at all, is like a commonly reoccurring
yeah.
craft that people claim to have seen. It's the
Yeah.
Tic Tac is a big one.
And they
Again,
tracked it for a little bit. It was just
It
hovering.
too, Brutus?
Not saying that it's aliens. I'm not saying that it's aliens,
but
but we don't know what it is.
Yeah. And this is the thing, is that you think, oh, maybe it's a drone or something like that, but it would be hovering sort of at a certain altitude, and then it would just go 20,000 feet in the air in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it's zooming around. Like,
Or-
if you were to think about it, what it reminds me of seeing some of these like renderings of what they sort of claim that it looks like is that it's kind of like someone shaking something around in midair. So it's like it's like going backwards and forwards, pivoting. It's not flying like a jet, right? A jet goes, in
It's like
a straight
fly.
line.
It's like a fly buzzing
It's kind
around.
of a fly buzzing around back and forth, but moving at like impossible speeds and distances for any craft that we would understand
Yeah.
from a human. And it might be that there is some like highly experimental Russian spy craft. Maybe. But could also be aliens.
Could be aliens.
Could be. It's probably not. Statistically,
Could actually
very
be.
unlikely.
Could
But
could be a form of life that's native to Earth that we just don't know
We
about.
haven't seen.
Yeah.
that'd be fucking sick.
Yeah.
Could be like an
Actually-
extra, not like a kind of animal or something,
I heard an interesting little tidbit related to aliens recently that
Yes.
tickled my fancy.
I love a good
which
tickling
was
of tidbits.
so I heard this on the QI podcast, where someone talked about that people believe that if were aliens to come visit Earth, probably one of the big reasons might be to witness a solar eclipse, because the odds of there being a planet with a moon at the right sort of distance to completely block out the sun at a certain rotation is quite unlikely.
You reckon?
So what
So
you're
there's
saying,
there's not many there aren't the planets like that are not common to get a complete solar eclipse.
So we have alien eclipse tourists.
Yeah.
yeah, they were saying aliens might come to have a look.
and what you're describing is essentially planet Earth is like Bali for
aliens. Yeah. So there's a neat little idea. I know it's not as sexy as Independence Day, but
It does. It goes with the Men in Black.
That
chronology,
kind of
so,
angle.
yeah.
Also, the second, just a completely off topic, the second interstellar object entered our galaxy, our solar system.
What do you mean?
Oh yes, I heard about that.
recently.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago? A weird cigar-shaped object came from
Cigars,
interstellar
man.
space.
Cigars. That's what I'm saying.
And so shot out of interstellar space, it looped around the sun and then left. And we only saw it on the way out. So we were
And
like, what the
it was called.
And they named it.
they named it it
They
was a
nicknamed
Hawaiian
it
word, I think?
the Bill Clinton.
I
'Cause
can't,
I think
I
it was
can't
actually
remember what
called
it actually...
Omamama. It was
Yeah,
a Hawaiian
it's
name.
a Hawaiian word because
Yeah.
I think it was a Hawaiian observatory that
Yes, picked it up, I
that
think.
picked it up.
Yeah.
But no, a second object, interstellar object, entered the galaxy, but it was much more comet-esque than this one was. The weird cigar-shaped thing.
Has a
This is
tail.
more it had a more comet sort of tail and stuff. But they've caught it much earlier, so they can observe it for longer.
Cool.
Which is just cool. Shit from outside our solar system coming in. So what things look like in
Say
deep
that
space.
now, Tom, until they come in with their fucking laser beams and
Taking all our jobs.
taking all our
and- yeah.
jobs.
But also somehow still on welfare, those fucking
Ah,
space aliens.
no.
Lazy fucking space aliens.
Having it both ways.
Yep.
Mm.
It's almost like they're individuals.
Speaking of Bali, as we were briefly, Indonesian President Joko Widodo asked Parliament to delay passing a draconian new law, which was up for debate this week, that might have jailed unmarried couples for having sex. Which is
Yep.
weird because it seemed like such a good idea at the time.
Oh, well, I was going to say, they passed that. There goes Bali's tourism.
Yeah. Unmarried sex is basically the currency that makes Bali solvent. Essentially,
Wow. I wasn't going to go there.
I mean, it's just essentially
I
a
just
bunch
more
of
meant dickheads turning up and...
yeah, a bunch of bogan
Yeah.
Australians with their de facto spouse coming there, drinking $3 beers and having premarital sex.
Like if you said
Yeah.
out of 10 Australians, you
Okay.
asked 10 Australians, what was your first holiday with your significant other?
yeah,
I'd probably go Bali.
it was my
Bali, but
my
did not
university
have sex
girlfriend.
the entire time I was
Yeah.
there.
Nope.
well,
Didn't do that.
Nope. It was one clean holiday.
Now-
Thank you very much. No debauchery, no nothing. We, we spent most of our time in the library.
Obviously.
And, Bali has a
Bali
great
has
library, but
great
you all
library.
wouldn't know that, you party animal degenerates, would you?
it's too busy having sex on the beach,
Yeah.
which is a kind of cocktail and not a sexual act.
Yes.
Well, it's both.
It's
It's both.
It can be both.
One's uncomfortable, one's delicious.
And one gets you.
Yeah, I was
sand.
going to say the
chafing,
beverage is
chafing.
incredibly uncomfortable. It's pretty awkward to order at the bar.
Especially when inserted rectally. So,
Yep.
what are we talking about?
Indonesia,
Indonesia.
largest Muslim country on the planet.
Yeah, and apparently
That's true, yeah.
Joko Widodo said, quote, it said that the materials needed, quote, further examination. Turns out banning premarital sex would literally explode the tourist economy in Bali, and that's seems to be the only thing.
I don't know whether they're just concerned about Bali. I think there is a significant portion of Indonesian people that obviously aren't married and that are in relationships.
Yeah, but
that it
also
would
like
affect.
I can't imagine how anyone proposing this law didn't think that this would obviously be the fucking response.
No, because
you know what I mean? Like,
there are conservative Muslims
I
that
get
are
that.
within the Indonesian government.
I understand that,
don't want to.
but like, surely you would go, fucking Bob or whatever the version of Bob is over there.
Yeah.
I really just hate premarital sex, don't you?
Oh, worst.
That's
Absolute
the worst.
worst.
It's-
Yeah.
You can't even.
Yeah.
You know what we should do?
Don't want to do it.
Ban it. Let's ban it.
Mm.
Do you reckon there'll be any international consequences of this?
Nah, it should
Nah, it'll be right. It'll be fine.
No,
Yeah,
let's
nah.
do it.
It'll be fine. Let's just ban sex.
I think part of it
that's
was
always worked.
was to sort of stop, I guess, divorce rates and broken families and that kind of thing was the excuse they were using. But
Let's just lower divorce rates by. All right, well, you can get divorced, but if you're divorced, you're not allowed to have sex until you're married again. Nope. None of that. Yeah, it's the Lysistrata technique.
I just love the idea. Good reference. I just love the idea that it's just like two university kids hanging out in their bungalow,
Yeah.
and the Indonesian police are going to kick the door down.
Yeah.
Show us your marriage certificate.
No.
Where's your dick?
So the way it works would be it would be up to either the lowest form of the, I guess, Indonesian judiciary, which is, I think, like a tribal elder or someone like that. Or it could
Great.
be that they could refer them to the police, or it could be a family member or someone else that knows the couple that could
Great.
provide a witness
Awesome.
testimony that
Cool.
could lead to charges. So, for instance, if your dad does, if the dad of the girlfriend you're dating doesn't like you, they could be like, oh, he's totally doing my daughter, and I don't like that.
Do you
and
need to be caught red-handed? Like, how much evidence do they need
well,
to be
I think this is it. It's just a witness statement.
just
right?
be like, I reckon they're fucking, and then the cops turn up. Surely,
I don't know.
is there
I don't know-
nothing
I don't know about
else
that.
going on in Indonesia that could
I'm
use
sure
police
Yeah,
resources?
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's probably also better legislation that might need some hashing out
Yeah.
than worrying about who's boning when.
Oh, don't worry. They're moving the capital. It'll be fine. They're also focused on that.
Wait, are they?
Yeah, they're
Oh, I was not aware of
they're
that.
going to move the capital. They're going to construct a city like they did with Canberra. They're going to move it from the capital from Sumatra to Borneo, and they're going to just knock down a fuckload of jungle and fuck all the orangutans.
Oh,
and It's
cool.
going to be fine. The
Oh,
reason
great.
is Jakarta is sinking into the ocean,
Ah.
and it's one of the most polluted cities in the planet.
Maybe they should be focusing their attention on things to do with global warming, if that's the case.
No,
rather
no,
And
no,
than-
maybe
no,
we
no,
should
no,
be
no.
as well.
No. I don't know, guys. I think maybe the number one thing is teenagers fucking. Let's make sure that we get on top of this, because that's the number one thing facing our nation. I don't know. It just seems like such a... It's just dumb.
Phone going off. Sorry.
Cool. Professional.
No, it's my brother. I'll just put that on.
Oh, well, if it's your brother, put him on speaker. Hey, Josh, you're on the podcast. How's it going, mate?
No, he's not. I just hung up. That's fine. I'll
That's all
text him. Anyway, but yeah, look, it's. I'm sure it's great. Yeah, it's great culturally for that country.
The head of Bali's tourism board played down the implications of new laws for foreign tourists. Quote, "We are not worried. The law requires a person to report such case. As a tourism destination, we have to also observe international law." Okay. Overseas, often civil partnerships instead of marriage is the norm, he said. Bali has always welcomed all tourists. We will continue to do so, even with a new penal code. Unless, of course, those tourists are unmarried.
I mean, how that? Well, yeah. I mean, is the hotel? Concierge going to be like, I can hear some noises upstairs. So
Welcome to
those
the
guys-
Royal Hilton. Can we see the ring?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
literally.
gonna say surnames don't match.
No. We're
like,
one
no,
of those
no,
modern
we
couples that don't
just-
love each other.
No, but we are married. It's like
I don't know. Kiss her. I want you to kiss her.
Now we've left the biggest story of the week probably to last, and we're talking about global warming. We're going to talk about fossil fuels now, which contribute to global warming, but
No, they
much
don't.
more-
That is fucking propaganda,
No,
Adam.
no,
Leftist
it's-
propaganda from the lefty. I don't even know enough to make a joke about this.
Yeah, I don't know. But look, the point being is, even though we don't necessarily like fossil fuels. We do need, particularly oil, to make things run. Countries, the world, Western civilization would stop if the flow of oil were to stop as well.
It wouldn't be good.
Now, last week, one of the largest, oil facilities in Saudi Arabia was hit by a bunch of drones and potentially missiles and destroyed a bunch of infrastructure, affecting what they believe to be about 5% of the world's oil supply. And petrol prices in Australia immediately went up to about 50 cents because obviously the ships that already had the oil on the way to Australia, they've sunk. So obviously, we have to pump up the prices straight away, and it'll take 7 weeks for them to go down again.
Cool.
Yeah, anyway, that's just
fun
me.
times.
I don't like paying high petrol prices. That's just me getting angry.
Oh, I love it.
But part of the reason why I
I'm
guess...
serious.
Personally,
You
big
like
fan
it?
of high
I'm
petrol
serious. I'm a huge
prices.
fan of high petrol prices. Remember that time it was like 98 cents a litre or something? Like
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
that was the pits.
Yeah, it was
That was
shit.
fucking bullshit. I wrote to my local member. I was like,
It's like,
this is not
No,
on.
make it high. I want $2. Get up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the reason why petrol stations probably did that is because Australia's oil supplies are ridiculously low, what they call the oil reserve. Now,
Oh,
Basically, how much of this stuff have we got in case of an emergency where
let's say
supply
the
stops?
tap ran off. What are we going to do?
Yeah,
we've got
that's how oil comes to Australia. By the way, is just one big tap
one big tap.
Yeah.
up at
one-
Darwin,
Yes.
Yeah,
and
huge tap.
just they switch it on and they let it just flows down to the rest of the
Yeah,
country.
it's like
Yeah, it's called trickle down economics.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It trickles down
Yeah.
the country from the top to the bottom.
yeah, down my leg. The now they reckon
9 years in, folks.
9 years in.
9 years in.
They reckon that Australia's got either between 1, at its worst case, to 3 weeks of reserves, right? So
Great.
obviously, probably why the petrol prices went up.
So basically, the Australian government has one cupped handful out, filled to the brim with oil, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It's literally just one guy standing in front of that proverbial oil tap with his hands cupped going, don't worry, I've
Yeah.
got enough. In case anything happens, I've got some reserves.
So
Please, sir, can I have some more?
the Morrison government, being the stewards of economic management that they are,
Forward thinking.
the budget actually did go to surplus for the first time since the GFC. But
As we all know.
But real surplus?
no,
or is it
no,
one
it
of
was-
theirs?
It was like it wasn't. Well, it was surplus, but it was like driven because of factors outside the government's control. But anyway.
As we all know, money doesn't make any sense.
Turns
so
out that commodity prices have gone ballistic, so therefore
good.
profits, tax revenue went up. Anyway,
good
so
governance.
the Morrison government has decided that their strategy to deal with this problem is they're going to go to the US with their hand out to try and tap into the US oil reserves.
Yeah, I'm sure in the case of a global catastrophe where oil supply is stopped to all various countries across the globe, America's going to say, hey, don't worry, mate.
We got
You
your
can
back.
have some of ours for literally days.
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 And for free as well. We'll
Uh-huh.
just give it to you.
Yeah, no, I'm sure the American government with Donald Trump at the head of it isn't certainly going to say, go fuck yourself in the case of a global catastrophe like that.
Possibly. Or the other narrative that I'm going to perpetuate here with no evidence to actually support it
Oh, good.
is that they may turn around and say, hey, we don't like Iran very much. If you want some of our oil, would you like to come and bomb Iran with us?
Bomb, bomb, bomb,
Bum,
bomb,
bum,
bomb,
ba, bum,
Iran.
ba-dum.
Bomb, 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 Iran.
Anyway, now, the reason why I say that is because there was a press... Scott Morrison went to the US this week, met with Donald Trump to much fanfare. They gave him the grand red carpet.
Yep.
And there was a particular press conference that occurred.
Yeah,
which
it was tense.
Tense, more tense than Raised Outdoors, as George always says.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that, so thank you for sparing me.
So normally what happens is when there's a one-on-one diplomatic talk, they'll do a quick handshake. They'll have to say a couple of words
It's
to
a
the cameras.
photo op. Everything has already been teed up, pre-announced, in
Yeah.
advance, in writing. My team has spoken to your team, and we go, let's not say any insane dumb shit. And they go, yep, great, high five, let's write it all down. And then
The
essentially
media fucks off.
Yeah, this is just like a thing where they come, they do a bit of glad handing, there's a photo op, 1 or 2 questions, everyone goes, how good is this fucking special relationship? Fucking A, how
Mates.
good is special relationship? And then everyone high fives, and then they go home. It's a nothing.
Well, generally the leaders
Optics.
will talk in private after that, right?
Yeah, sure. But
Yeah.
like, we all know probably nothing of actual substance is being discussed.
Well,
Particularly not
with
Donald
those
Trump.
with those two leaders in particular,
Like,
all the work has been
Yeah.
done by the aides and lower downs in advance of this.
yes.
Nothing gets announced in these things for the first
Well,
time.
tell that to Donald Trump, George.
Yes.
Tell that to Donald Trump because he decided to go on a bit of a. What does William Shatner do?
I'd say rogue, but Donald Trump is always rogue, so rogue for Donald Trump would be sticking to the script.
The Sydney Morning Herald put it in such a way as we saw Trump unplugged.
Trump unplugged.
It's just
Trump acoustic.
yeah, Trump was just ready to go.
So Trump gave basically a 30-minute press conference with Scott Morrison just sitting
Great.
Sitting there with his best
Love it.
poker face.
there. He basically looked like Hide the Pain Harold, if you know that meme. Just sort of
Just the smile,
blissfully staring.
I think
smiling while dying
we-
inside.
The smile says I'm happy. The eyes say
The eyes, the eyes are screaming.
We need to cut to, at this point in the video, we now need to cut, and then it's like slowly zooming in on Scott Morrison in that footage, say, with Hello Darkness, my old friend,
Yeah.
That's
playing in the background.
exactly it.
Oh,
So Donald Trump said such things like, what were some of the things he was talking about, Tom?
I thought he said, well, as he's previously said, they're locked and loaded to go attack Iran. So he was saying, so we might just do that. And they say, have you? Someone asked him about, are they ready to deploy in Iran? He said, I could do it right now. I could just pull out my phone. I could do it in front of you even. Ready to go. He was like, that's
Jesus.
terrifying. And then he said words to the effect of whether or not Australia will be involved. Well, Scott and I are going
Scott's
to
just
have to... Scott and I are going to have a chat about that as to what happens there. But I do love me a good coalition. And Scott just
screams
like,
internally.
stop talking, Donald. Just rein it in, mate. And then he also just dropped a casual thing of both Scott and I hope that we don't have to go nuclear.
I hope you don't have to go nuclear.
And Scott
But
Morrison
we-
says,
yeah.
yes, I definitely also
definitely
hope that.
don't want that. So, Trump just casually throwing out, maybe let's nuke Iran.
Yeah. Now, that'll
That'll go
happen.
down well.
Whether or not there will be an exchange of oil between Australia and the US,
Oh, who
I'm
knows?
not sure.
Who knows?
I would suggest that if Iran were to properly go to war with Saudi Arabia and the US was drawn in, which they would be, we would be very bad for Australia because we are so dependent on oil supply from the Middle East.
Man, if only there was like some kind of like renewable form of energy where you didn't have to
Well,
like
it's not-
dig it out of the ground and use it once. If you could just like keep using it
Mm.
over and over
yeah.
again, it's like some sort of renewable energy source
Yeah.
maybe that you could use instead.
Renewables.
Yeah,
so
I
like,
don't know.
yeah,
There's
be
nothing
handy.
like that.
I mean,
though,
the thing is, it's not so much like that power plants or electricity would stop. It's more that like your planes wouldn't be able to be fueled, your cars would not be able to be fueled, your trucks wouldn't be able to fuel, which means that your trains would not be able to be
sucks.
fueled.
Maybe if there was
All
investment in
goods and
some kind of like electric vehicles, but nothing like that exists, right? That's
No,
I mean,
no, totally impossible.
I don't know if you watch The Bachelor, George, but
I do.
I
I
sure
don't.
do.
You know I don't,
I
Adam.
sure
And it's
do
not
watch The
fair of you to
Bachelor.
put that out into the world that I might watch The Bachelor.
That is slander.
I'm not giving you fake news. I'm not Russia Today.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But there is, in fact, a car which featured on The Bachelor quite prominently. It's the Hyundai Kona, which is everyone's favourite.
Just ripping Konas.
Ripping Konas.
Yeah.
What does the
Um,
Hyundai Kona do? Is that
It's
an
an
electric
it's
vehicle?
an electric and petrol vehicle. Depending, you can get different models. One of them is electric.
So it's a hybrid or it's a...
No, it's not hybrid. You can either get a petrol model or you can get an electric model.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
But of course,
What does an electric Kona cost?
it's not too bad. It's the price of a small SUV. One of them blew up the other day, but don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's just one, right?
Just one.
Just one?
Just one.
In all fairness, you don't hear about all the Hyundais that don't blow up.
yeah.
Yeah.
When was the
So-
last time you heard about a Hyundai not blowing up?
Was it a Hyundai? What model of car did you...
Hyundai, yeah.
was it?
Hyundai
Yeah.
Kona. I'm a Hyundai man. You might be a Toyota man, Tom, but
I own a Honda.
well, don't worry about it then.
So, swing and a miss.
But I am a Toyota man.
I'm a Toyota man through and through.
So we could all just buy if the Bachelor.
It's a car. It
It's
gets
just
me
a
from
car.
A to B,
It's
and
a
on
car,
weekends
and
sometimes
it
C.
was the only affordable hybrid on the market, so that's why I bought
yeah.
it.
Look, if the Bachelor was to be believed, George, the answer to your question is we could all buy Hyundai Konas
Mm-hmm.
and just casually drive around to them and have dates with 13 different women. It's fine.
But demand absolute loyalty from each
Demand
of them.
loyalty, Tom. God.
That was the
What's-
big controversy out of The Bachelor that I did catch and find particularly juicy.
Spicy.
where one of them just starts dating one of the camera guys, and the Bachelor's furious. I'm like, oh, so you can date 13 people, but she needs to be completely exclusive.
What do you think this is? Some kind of lawless fuck party? Anyway,
Yeah.
I've got 8 other
Fucking
dates
hell,
tonight,
yeah.
so I got to get going.
This is why
I've
the
got to fly
Indonesian-
around the country and meet so many people's shit families.
This is why the Indonesian government wants to ban premarital sex. It's
Maybe
just
they're
it's out of
onto
control.
something.
Maybe they've worked it out.
Where do they film Bachelor in Paradise? Are they just trying to kick that show?
Maybe.
out of the
Just a
country?
big ploy by
It's
Channel
like,
10.
Fuck off.
They saw one episode of Bachelor in Paradise and they're like, we need to do something about this.
We need to stop
Yeah,
this
we need
right
to stop
now.
this. And like, if I have to ban sex, I will.
Pretty
I mean-
sure Bachelor Paradise was in Fiji, but
Ah,
that's
okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I don't
Who
know.
incidentally has also signed on to recognise China for no particular reason. So
It's
there
fine.
you
It's
go.
fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
fine. Nothing to do with this big canvas bag with a dollar sign on it. Unrelated.
Jingle,
Totally
jingle,
unrelated.
jangle, jangle.
On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com, where you could give us a big canvas bag filled with cash and we can recognise you too as a country. Follow us on all social media that have, do, or ever will exist at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I have since given up Facebook. Fuck you, Facebook.
What?
At Unnatural Show. You can follow Tom on Twitter and Facebook Twitter and Instagram.
At Tom D. Heath.
You can follow me on Instagram at AC Doreen.
And you can follow us on our Facebook fan page, which will be administered by somebody else.
Hang on, did you get off Facebook?
I've deleted the Facebook app off my phone. I've retained Facebook on my desktop in order to post episodes and blog posts and things for the show
What about
and the live streaming. But if you invite me to an event on Facebook, I will almost certainly not see it. I'm not using it anymore. It makes me
George?
very
This
unhappy.
is part of the problem.
What's that?
man. I can't do it. My social life needs the Facebook event function
Well,
to function.
you can just fucking let me know about it, bro. Thanks for listening, guys. Yes, I'm that friend. Go fuck yourself. Thanks for listening, guys. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
You're just gonna miss out on so many parties now.
Okay.